Hey everybody, welcome to Couch Dimension, our video game podcast where we're talking about video game news from a legal developer and player perspective. We got a lot of news stories today. Last week we kind of did a deep dive. So we got a couple from last week and we got a bunch of stuff from this week we're excited to get into. Red, I'm glad to have you back, man. I'm glad to have you back. And I'm glad that you seemingly have no memory of your disappearance.
Why do my bones hurt?
No, I wouldn't think too long and hard about why anybody's bones hurt. Arthritis, probably. That's if I had to guess.
Sure. Why is there blood on the floor? There's like red stains on the floor.
In honor of you.
Yeah, we painted that pentagram just because we thought it would kind of spruce the place up. And why you're feeling woozy? That's not your blood. That's Gatorade.
Okay, I was wondering.
And with that, I was going to do this in the pre-show because I've noticed that for the past several weeks, this has been caught on mic, but there's my obligatory beer crack. And yeah, let's get into our show. Big thanks, by the way, to FlameLiz from last week. Unfortunately became merged with Red, and we kind of Deus Ex Machina our way out of that. Don't worry too much about it.
Wait, who are we thanking?
FlameWiz from yeah, so remember when you came back to life and you were sort of a horrible amalgamation creature for a little bit?
I remember fire everywhere.
Yeah!
I remember that.
Yeah, that was FlameWiz, who, you know, I was glad to have FlameWiz on the show. FlameWiz brought some really good perspectives and everything. However, you know, FlameWiz assured us that they cannot help us out of the couch dimension, and yet they seem to have left of their own accord. So I'm a little skeptical about that, but that's neither here nor there.
It's me, Captain. Glad to be here today. Thanks for the introduction. I'd like to thank the wizard who has put us in this wonderful realm.
Why would you thank the wizard?
Those problems. Well, I mean, we made a little bit of a mess of things. They mopped up, you know.
I wouldn't give that wizard too much credit. I would also potentially move closer to my microphone.
How is this?
That's possibly too close to your microphone. Anyways, yes, I am joined by my co-host, as always, Red and Captain. Red, Captain, thanks for joining me today.
As always.
Glad to be here.
I'm here every week.
I don't have much of a choice, but you know.
And let's get into our news for this week. Now, this week I was putting together the run of show, and I thought, wow, we've got some really fun stories. You know, it's not depressing. There's no layoffs. There's no, you know, horrible corporate bullshit to deal with this week. And then just mere hours before the show, this hit, and Red's going to take it over from here and discuss this one.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about Bungie a few times, but most recently from our BFF Rebecca Valentine at IGN, Bungie's replaced the lead for Marathon. And the former lead is Christopher Barrett. The new lead is Joe Ziegler. If that name is somewhat familiar, that's because he worked for Riot Games on Valorant. And he came to Bungie in 2022, and he tweeted today that in the last 9 months he's been working as director for Marathon, which is just a left hook out of nowhere. But apparently Bungie is scrambling to get Marathon out the door. They need more money, and I wonder if that's any pressure coming from Sony. While this has been happening, apparently there's been a little snippet of news about it, and it makes me very unhappy. And it's that under this new leadership, they're thinking about moving away from custom player characters in favor of a selectable cast.
Boo!
Well, that's specifically for Marathon, it seems. But yeah, it is a bummer.
Yeah, I hate that shit. Like, okay. But you bring in the game director from Valorant, right? And that's what's going to happen, is that you're going to get sort of those same systems. And one of those things is a selectable cast of heroes instead of what I much prefer, which is a player character that I feel in control of.
It is what keeps me playing Destiny. It is my favorite part of Destiny. So yeah, this does hurt the game's momentum for me. I was more excited, especially because I don't know how an extraction shooter, what that really looks like with a hero system.
Yeah,
You know,
I was thinking the same thing, because that means, I mean, it's going to be like Apex, right? You're going to have duplicate copies of heroes up against each other, which is fine, I guess. But I was hoping for something more out of Marathon. I was hoping for something more akin to Destiny in the character creation area, and not just more hero shooter, because I think that, unfortunately, the hero shooter era has kind of come and gone. I don't really know why they would make that decision, but it's a bummer for me. I will definitely say that. But I want to mention something else about that article, and that is from the businessy end of it. There is some speculation that the leadership at Bungie is going to sort of mass exodus in summer 2026, because that's when they get their final payment from Sony. So I think that might actually shed some light on, I talked about last time we talked about Sony Bungie. I talked about how the deal was really a win from a business perspective, not so much from a worker perspective. I think that sheds some light on why they haven't already left and why they want to maintain control of the company. Something tells me that them getting the rest of their money is contingent on some manner of financial performance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense if you read like the part above that. I think it was above it. Apparently, Bungie's bungled on the money because they have a source that says nothing adds up, and something will need to happen to cover the gap so people can move to Marathon. They're saying they don't have enough money.
but that I will say, I don't know if that's. I think that's been the situation as we knew it, because everything has been hinging on the final shape, like being good.
Yeah, but we're expecting, according to this article anyway, potentially layoffs after the final shape comes out. Which is because what they're saying is basically, looking at the numbers, there's no way, unless the final shape is like the best selling thing that has ever existed, there's no way that we're going to be able to make enough money to bridge us from the final shape to Marathon.
Well,
without going through some significant layoffs and things of that nature.
I do want to kind of clarify, at least according to the article, it just says it needs to do so well that it can cover the gap. It doesn't exactly say it has to be like the best-selling thing ever.
No, that's me editorializing a little bit, but it does say that it has to do exceptionally well. Like, this is not what it is projected to do. It has to do much better than the projections. Otherwise, the math doesn't work out. You gotta lay off a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But
I hate to say it, guys, but I feel like the hero movement earlier might be money contingent.
Yeah.
It's easier to sell a hero every few year or months than it is to when you add like new subclasses or classes in Destiny. Those are parts of a $40, $50 expansion.
It was maybe a move to make it maybe easier to balance around, but that could be it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it comes with a host of benefits, and that's one of them, right? And I think you make a really good point, because the article mentions that Marathon will be live service-y. It says live service game. Yeah. And so how do you do live service in a multiplayer setting? Well, we learned from the Xbox 360 era that selling map packs doesn't exactly work, because you split your player base and then your game dies. Battlefield is prime example of that. So I think it makes sense to pivot to a hero shooter, because you're exactly right. You sell different heroes every season, just like Rainbow Six or Apex. or any of the other hero-based games. And yeah, there you go. There's your money. But yeah, that's sad, bad news. And I hate to start the show with sad, bad news because we've covered so much of it as of late. But unless either of y'all have something to add to that, I'm ready to move on to our next topic, which is significantly not as bad. Okay.
I don't.
Well, in that case, let's talk about a little game called Super Mario Maker and what's going on with that. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with the bad news on this. Nintendo is taking down the servers for Super Mario Maker. That's happening on April 9th. Now, this is not to be confused with Super Mario Maker 2, which is a Switch game. This is for Super Mario Maker 1, the Wii U title. But something really cool is going on in the Super Mario Maker community, which is still alive. So this group started called Team 0%, and their goal was to beat every single Super Mario Maker level ever made and published on the online store. Well, I don't know if it's fair to call it a store. You don't have to pay for them. And for those who have never played the game, basically the way publishing a level works is like this. You create a level, then you have to beat it, and when you beat it, it can be published to prove that it's not impossible, right? So, as the game would suggest, Super Mario Maker, it was all about building levels and publishing them and playing other people's levels. A while back, Nintendo removed the ability to upload new levels, but there's still the ability to play old ones, which will remain until April 9th. So this group undertook the monumental task of playing through these. And when I say playing through them, I don't mean that they have played through every single one ever made. They are just trying to make sure that every single one has been beaten at least once. Which, when I say a monumental task, guys, here's the numbers on that. In late 2017, there were 85,000 user-created levels that existed, right? And I think that is unbeaten as of that time. Guess how many are left?
I can't even. You know what? 35,346.
One.
The answer is 1. What they are calling the final boss. A level called Trimming the Herbs. It is supremely difficult, though they note that it is probably not the most difficult one that they've played because they kind of prioritized by difficulty to a certain extent. But this is the one remaining level. And they say that in their group, there are only about 10 people skilled enough to even take this thing on. And so now this group is in a race against time to beat the last remaining unbeaten Mario Maker level. And I just think that's awesome.
It's pretty great. I do have a piece of good news, though, for anyone who is sad about the end of Mario Maker. When Mario Maker came out, it was inspired by or I don't know if they ever, specifically addressed it. It was kind of obvious that it was inspired by a fan project. Super Mario Brothers X, that was a level creator on PC. And Super Mario Bros. X2 is in current development and is very far along. And I encourage you to check it out if you get the chance. Also, Mario Maker 2 still exists. It is a bummer, but it is good to know. I was thinking about it because you're bringing up how that community still exists. And I think that might be... It's the people who enjoy that kind of thing, but in a more mainstream setting. I think that's why that still is there.
You know, I never thought about it. Yeah, yes, absolutely. But I've never thought about it. But I'm just now realizing that Mario Maker 1 levels are not Mario Maker 2 compatible.
Nope.
Yeah, that is crazy that they didn't carry over. But by the way, I bumbled there. Meant to cite my source. That comes from Ars Technica. That whole article about the Super Mario Maker facing its final boss. But yeah, it's nuts the amount of dedication that's there, because, you know, they were talking about in the article, like, it kind of died down and then streamers started picking it up and more people started getting into it. And it just became this big community goal, which I love. Like, I love when people take a thing in a video game that the creators of the game have attached no reward to, and that is quite frankly insane. And they're like, you know what? We're going to do this. I think it's fun, and it's like the really positive side of the game's community. Making something out of nothing. Making your own fun. Setting your own goals. It's kind of like when No Man's Sky was new. And if you remember, there was a lot of controversy around that. And one of the things there was controversy about was the fact that it wasn't multiplayer. And Hello Games said, well, technically you all exist in the same universe, but that universe is so big that you could never find another person in it, even if you wanted to. And then immediately the community proved them wrong. And like within a week, 2 people found each other, and it was pretty cool.
Well, I was about to transition over to... Now, this is an older one. This is back on Valentine's Day. It's published by Kotaku, but it's new to me, so it's new. But I want to talk about the Sony has said that PS5 is entering the latter stage of its life cycle. And I mean, I guess that is what it is. It sucks. I still wouldn't be surprised if I don't know, we got our slim models. I don't know if we'll ever get a lot of game cycle or game console cycles. You know, you have your 0.5 models. We'll see if anything comes of that. But I don't know. It's weird.
It's always sad when you got to put old grandpappy console in the console nursing home, you know?
So I partially wanted to ask y'all, like, what's your ideal time frame for a console cycle? Because a lot of the time, or let me say, 7 years feels like a sweet spot. 10 is a little long. 5 feels way too short, though.
Yeah, I would agree. A 5-year cycle is pretty crazy, especially for people without as much disposable income as me. Because
7 is the, as the article points out, consoles usually have a shelf life of roughly 7 years.
Right.
I don't know. 7, 8, somewhere in there. I always have that problem of if it's too late, things start feeling a little stale. But I guess it's not that big a deal. The more I think about it, it's less of a big deal. But also, I have a PC now, so if I really want upgrades, I can get upgrades. But
I don't exist in the world of console cycles anymore.
I think it sucks a lot especially for the PlayStation, like, people weren't able to get their hands on it for so long.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of the reason, like, due to COVID and supply line issues, like, I can see why Sony wants to move to a new thing, but I feel like it might be short-sighted, if only because a lot of people just got their hands on it, and you're telling them, get ready, you're about to have to buy another one. That sucks. That seems like maybe not the best move, but I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on consumer habits. Like,
so wait, wasn't there news of a PS5 Pro?
I don't know if there's news outside of rumors.
Oh, rumors, I guess is the more thing.
I will say this. Because I take the Sony announcement, and correct me, Captain, if I'm wrong. I take the Sony announcement to mean we're closer to the end of this thing than we are to the beginning of it.
That's what I'm hoping.
We're over the halfway point, right? So I still think there's plenty of room for a PS5 Pro in there, potentially.
Yeah.
But that's pretty consistent with what Microsoft, says that they're doing. We covered that a few weeks ago when at that press conference, Phil Spencer said that they were going to announce their new hardware at holiday season of this year.
What was it? You know what's going to be interesting?
What's that?
The Switch is still selling well.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much longer we got. I mean, I'm not going to do a deep dive on the Switch 2 because, like, damn, that's been rumored forever.
Right.
And
Forever.
There's probably something to it, and COVID kind of fucked with it, but, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that it is a bummer. And, I see we have a message in chat talking about being worried about not being able to keep up, right? Because of how much money consoles cost. And I do think that to address that concern, I think that there are a lot of people in that boat. And I think that what game companies are starting to realize is that, just like Microsoft, talking about, the future of Xbox is on every device. I think that we're going to move into an era where you're going to be able to play the same games at varying levels of quality depending on your device. And so a new console generation, I think the next one's definitely going to be a hard barrier. But beyond that, I really foresee less hard barriers and more quality barriers.
So, pure speculation on my part. But I kind of think that Microsoft has been making moves towards this already.
Yeah.
Like wanting it to be the Xbox Series X. Because you could just do Xbox Series blank moving forward and kind of blur that line between the console cycles a little bit more. Like in the past, it's been very obvious, like this is a backport of the game. This is the current version of the game. But you can start to smudge that a little bit more and be like, well, it plays optimally on this, but it plays fine on the previous one. We'll see. But I think that and the subscription push, like for people who want to play over streaming, like they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And I think that everything we talked about last week, the concept of digital ownership, and we had a lot to say about that. I won't rehash all of it. But in addition to no longer owning your games, I think we're going to get to a point soon enough where you don't even own your console, technically, And I personally like owning my PC, so hopefully I will be in a position to continue to do that.
I don't think they're going to come for your PC.
I don't mean come for it in a...
Oh, I know, but I mean like...
For example, earlier today I read about a new technology on disk. This is crazy. That allows a disk, a CD-sized disk, to hold 200 terabytes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't have disk drives anymore, so basically this technology would be used to convert data centers to a optical disk technology and then use that for cloud computing. And so at a certain point, it's not that they're coming for my PC, but it's that like the better technology is available to the cloud gaming companies, and that technology is not necessarily available to me as a consumer.
Yeah.
It's available for the right price.
Right.
We're still not there infrastructure-wise. And I don't know, there are going to be some things, it's just, I can't imagine it'll be there for the longest time of, fighting games? Ooh.
What are you talking about? The Smash Bros. Webcode is perfect.
God, the netcode fucking sucks so much. And, luckily, it's gotten better for a lot of fighting games. Still, the most optimal way is to play in person. But the least optimal way is over streaming your game.
Speaking of competitive games and speaking of streaming games, I just realized we jumped over one of Red's stories that I very much want to get to.
It threw me a little earlier.
Yeah, that's my bad. As keeper of the show,
I just roll with the punches.
Yeah, as keeper of the show schedule, I am directly responsible and will be committing seppuku after this show. Yeah, so Red, lead us into this next one.
Okay, so 30 or 20-ish minutes ago when you said something about Apex Legends would have been a great jumping off point to this, but we rolled right past that. So so first off, there's an Apex Legends tournament with a 3 milli prize pool. That's $3 million.
Ooh.
So I didn't realize there was an Apex Legends tournament. I'm sure there were tournaments, but I didn't realize it was like had this much infrastructure around it. But there was the North American finals were going on, and 2 players were hacked. And this thing is, they weren't hacked to lose the game. They were hacked in real time and given cheats. One player, Ginburton, got a wall hack, and the other player, Imperial Hall, got an aimbot. I believe one of them disconnected.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just think the aimbot's the better of the two. If I was blessed with one, I would choose the aimbot. Anyways, continue.
Yes, I think one of them just disconnected, and the other one played but didn't shoot their gun or something. But footage on Ginburton's had the words Apex Hacking Global Series by Destroyer 2009 and Random. And apparently Destroyer is an infamous cheater. You can probably very easily find a bunch of videos of this Destroyer 2009 person just acting unwise in Apex Legends. So naturally EA postponed the finals. There's been some information been just flying from the hip about what's going on here. So a group called the Anti-Cheat Police Department said players should take immediate action to protect their personal info if they've played Apex Legends or play Apex Legends, change your passwords, the normal stuff. But they're saying this was now I'm not a tech man. I'm a tech user. But they're saying it is a remote code execution exploit, which, to my understanding, is they are somehow exploiting a connection between your PC and some server, whether that's the game or the anti-cheat or something, and putting information or files onto your computer remotely. And there could be more nefarious things this could be used for.
Right, if they can get in to install hacks on your Apex account, who knows what information they may be privy to.
Yeah. Or they could put ransomware on your computer and lock you down.
Right.
But Apex Legends uses easy anti-cheat, and they say that they've done an investigation that there's no such vulnerability in their system, which makes it sound like the problem's with EA. I'm still going to be kind of on the cautious side and maybe not play anything with easy anti-cheat until I learn a lot more about this, but easy anti-cheat has said that it's not them.
Captain, you've got some insight here as a developer, right? You can help us understand these tech jargon.
You are putting so much weight on my shoulders.
Well, okay, every time I open the show, I say legal, developer, and player perspective. And you're the developer perspective.
That is true, but also I read like a few sentences in researching this myself. So I wouldn't really put it as a developer, more as a casual browser on the internet. But from what I saw, Easy Anti-Cheat works more as like, yeah, it has some tools and stuff it does, but a lot of what it's there to do is serve as a template and a basis for developers to build their own anti-cheat systems. So don't know for sure, but could be something that was done like when sorry, my brain went back. Did you say EA earlier?
Mm-hmm.
It just hit me out of nowhere. That's Activision Blizzard.
Apex is?
Oh, Apex. You're right.
No, Apex is EA.
I'm wrong. I was thinking of Overwatch. That's
I was very confused.
I had the show notes open and I confused myself.
I know very well that EA has a hand
No,
in Apex
you're good then.
because
My
every
bad.
morning I shake a pitchfork at a picture of EA with the words Titanfall 3 written over the picture.
That's fair.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is you should know that for Titanfall's sake.
As any kind of expert, but anyways, I threw myself off. Point is, don't know for sure, but maybe it could have been like EA or Respawn, like their implementation of it that may have left a hole open, but couldn't say for sure. Just kind of interesting learning how that works, because other anti-cheat systems are more.
So let me try to create an analogy, as I am wont to do. You know, we lawyers love our analogies. Easy anti-cheat is like a box of Legos that you can use to build a wall for your product. However, if you build a shitty wall, that's not necessarily the fault of the Legos. Is that gist of it right?
I think it's more of like it's the base of a wall and like the framework, and you build the rest of the wall.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And it may also depend on what like version they're using. I'm sure Easy Anti-Cheat, just to use it, you have to update the base, like what the base thing is every time they, find a huge vulnerability. But big people like EA may be like, let's not spend money.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
It unfortunately becomes one of those stories of have more as it develops, but in the meantime, watch out. Though I will say it does seem like it might be relegated to Apex right now. Though, like if it is an exploit with Easy Anti-Cheat and it gets out there, then yeah, it's going to be a bigger problem. But right now it seems like the focus is fucking with that.
And the thing is this, too, right? I think for these players which I would love to see, I need to get into esports. I really do. Like, admittedly, I know nothing about esports. I need to get into it. I'm very curious about.
You don't need to get into esports. It's fine.
I'm very curious about how a battle royale tournament goes. Like, that's just really interesting to me. Would love to find out. But my heart goes out to these players. It really sucks to get this far and to have that happen and throw off your game.
Something.
However, let me just finish this point real quick. However, it is extremely funny. I think it's really funny. I think it's really funny to hack someone to have cheats. That's just like, that got a chuckle out of me. Anyways, what were you about to say?
What surprises me is they didn't just. I believe one of the guys like ended up like being disqualified, and I'd say re-roll the round.
Yeah, they should definitely have redone that round.
Like,
it was so they put it on hold. They got to figure this out. But I want to say I know at least I saw something about Imperial Howl being banned.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I mean, that's crazy. That's like if I come into the your chess match, and I piss all over the opponent's side of the board, and then you get banned because I pissed on the board. Again, lawyers love our analogies.
You just love piss, but go on.
Anyways, I think that's about all the juice we've got out of that story. Now, Red, I think you've got something else about
piss we got out of that story. Go on.
Yeah. So, speaking of EA maybe being a little bit silly, what about AI? From a PC gamer, Andrew Wilson has a little article where the CEO, Andrew Wilson, is just going on a huge tangent about how cool AI is for the game dev process. And, when a CEO is talking about AI, that's kind of scary to me. But he says they've been using AI and they've chopped down the time it takes from making a ball stadium in their sports games to 6 weeks from 6 months. He says, what if we can get it down to 6 days? And what I took it out of that is they don't reuse their stadium assets in these games.
I think it depends on the stadium, I guess. I don't know. I'll tell you this: if you get afraid every time a CEO talks about AI, you're gonna be living in constant fear because they love it.
And that's why I live in constant fear. But yeah, I think that, like, okay,
They love that shit.
that is, I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling bullshit in this process. I feel like that was something that he said to investors and then hopes is true later on. But even if
Or
it's
the very
not,
least is like, yeah, we used it to help us build a stadium. Does it look as good as the one that was made in 6 months, though?
right, does it look as good? And, I think importantly, talking about it being applied, because he's basically taking this time frame about this stadium analogy, and he's extrapolating that out to be game development as a whole. We can cut game development time by 30% using AI. Or, I mean, obviously more than that based on his projections. But building a stadium is the easiest part of making a game like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean, I don't know shit, but
Well, I don't know. I don't know when it comes to EA Sports games because, doesn't seem like a ton of the development time is really put into retooling mechanics. So
yeah, that's true. But
maybe
yeah,
it is the bulk of the work.
But a stadium is a static asset that doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And so I think that extrapolating that out to other more complex games is not going to hold.
I think so. God, I hate to do it. I hate to. I'm going to very briefly, put on my AI apologist hat and say, as a tool, it could have useful applications. But
Hey, Captain.
that was the hat's
Burn
already
him! Burn him!
off.
Hey, Captain. Kip, come stand over here on this pentagram.
The hat's already off. Because the thing is, I say that in terms of like, with humans at the helm, you can. I
saw something about this in regards to the creation of Into the Spider-Verse, or Across the Spider-Verse, one of the Spider-Verse movies. During the animation process, the studio utilized an AI tool, but it was sort of misleading the way that it was presented because people were like, they used AI to make this. But it's like, no, it was just this really repetitive process of creating hair for one of the characters, or maybe even multiple of them. And they just used that tool to do that one thing, like a paintbrush, rather than generatively.
Yeah. The thing about any of that kind of AI, a generative, or we don't always have to. A lot of the time, the discussion is like kind of pigeonholed into like, oh, we need to replace artists and writers, and like, no, we can use don't do that. Like that's not the thing I'm defending. It's just sometimes people get scared in a way where it's like, y'all, this could be useful for really cutting down the workflow on some really repetitive tasks.
So it's funny that you mention, not supporting AI in the case of replacing writers. Because Red, I think you've got another AI story for us.
Yeah, he sure does.
Guess what? It's still EA. So this is from Ubisoft specifically, and it's Lucy O'Brien, and this is Ubisoft's article. So I read this, and it's very, very like AI glowy, very positive for this stuff, and it's full of very helpful nuggets. Like, to have a character who is really expressive, you need an actor who is very expressive.
Yeah.
But it reads very blah blah blah. But it feels like they're basically saying they're using an AI program and using it to create narrative, using it to create NPCs. They will hear you and respond and learn how to respond. But it makes me realize there's a whole nother issue with using AI in generative responses. And that's where this article to me feels like it's kind of uplifting the whole crap hole that is the low wage AI generative response jobs, where it's just like, would AI of X person say Y line?
Right.
Yes, no, and like they're having to fine tune them there, and they're just always doing that. But that doesn't mean the AI won't go off the wall and
No, it
just.
doesn't.
Yeah, I literally put in my notes. I think it's only a matter of time before one of these NPCs starts calling people slurs, and then there's a huge public backlash, right?
Yeah, yeah. They made a hot character, and everybody playing the game flirted with the hot character. So the hot character learned to flirt, and they're like, "Well, that's kind of a bias. That's kind of stereotypical that the hot character would flirt." Like that's the consequence of this system.
Yeah, I think that I talk about AI sometimes in my day job, and I like to frame it in the context of the monkey's paw. When you ask an AI to do something, really be sure that you've thought out every possibility, because it's going to take the shortest route to fulfilling your command, and that is not always going to be your intention, right? And it's going to get trained in these ways that introduce bias that are potentially going to screw you over later.
Yeah. It's like, the way I've looked at it is, I get the appeal. I understand from a development standpoint, even, that, like, you have a world, let's take Oblivion or Skyrim, where you've got a lot of interesting, fun characters with fun dialogue, and then you have the Radiant quest system, in which a character says a generic line and hands you a piece of paper and tells you to go on a quest. And, like, I can understand there where it's
the Jarl has put out a bounty for a dragon in Dragon's Reach.
So, yeah, I could see where, like, yeah, maybe we just want to let an AI handle that so we don't have to... We can have more variety in the lines. And it's also, like, we're not doing a whole lot there. But at the same time, like, that's to say, I get the temptation to do that in that situation. However, like you said, I just don't know if you could set the boundaries well enough to really guarantee it's not going to say some really wild shit. And I don't... yeah, it'll be great, or it might work out 95% of the time, but then that other 5%, like, they're going to say shit that doesn't pertain to anything at all. And it's going to take people out of the experience entirely. So I'd even say then, not really worth it. All to give, like, a potential use case and where the problems I see exist. You know?
I also foresee... Okay, and this is me just spitballing, guys. Okay. You know,
Go ahead, I'll tell you in a second.
Nerds are not always good at knowing what is and isn't a chatbot. There are several examples of people who are like, the AI is self-aware, the AI is self-aware. And it's not. It's not self-aware. It's never been self-aware. It says things that make you think that it is. And all I'm saying is, how long until her happens in Skyrim?
I never thought that we were going to, the moment someone started to beat the Turing test, to be like, it's aware!
Yeah.
Here's the thing about that. I don't think you need that much effort to people have tried to marry Ghost. So, you know, I don't really know.
Okay, well, Ghost to real AI is not, so
I
get
love
that
the
out of your head.
I'm just willing to say I think people are really ready to her anything, including absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah, there is that Twitter thread about that woman that fucks roller coasters that happened not too long ago. So you're right. People will fuck anything.
Including the concept of nothingness. The void itself needs me to fill it.
Oh no.
But like, I will say, in some way, AI is probably.
Sorry, that one got me.
I didn't expect it to really hit that hard. It's the oh no. It's the I was just gonna say, like, I do feel like EA's on some bullshit. And they're partially just trying to get investors excited. Like, they don't have a truck start up in my apartment parking lot. It was loud as fuck, and I thought, like, did an explosion go off?
Good job, Discord audio suppression, because we didn't hear that.
Yeah, it spooked me. That's why I got off track. Anyways, I was gonna say, like, the only fear I have is that if and when people integrate this into their workflows in a reasonable way, we're still going to have it's not to say we shouldn't raise the alarm about stuff like that. It's to say there are reasonable ways to do that, and I hope that when that time comes, we're able to distinguish one from the other and not, like, I don't want to light a fire under people who don't deserve it. Though right now, EA deserves it. Light that fire. But,
Yeah.
Because I've seen how people, like, there's already been a bad habit of people going, hey, this looks like AI. AI made it. And it's, well, what did it do? I don't know, but I know AI was involved.
Though, I was thinking about this, and there is sort of and this is the last thing I want to say on AI before we move on, but
yeah,
there is sort of a silver lining to that specific scenario, Captain, and that's that AI is becoming synonymous with generic dog shit. And so, like, whenever someone uses made with AI in the future as a selling point, like, it signals, because we've already built this idea that AI is generic dog shit, people are going to be like, oh, made with AI, so it's generic dog shit then.
Though it should be said, I believe I have seen some artists before get accused of, like, using AI. It's like, no, they used AI built on my art style.
Yeah. That's not good. That's not good. That's very bad.
Yeah, that can also happen where it's not generic. And yeah. Anyways, that's enough AI talk for this week, I think.
Yep, let's move on to something good. Well, sort of good. So last week we did a whole discussion of, do you own your Steam games? The answer was no, you don't. But now you can share that license that we talked about earlier with up to 6 people with Steam's new family sharing system. Currently in beta, it's going to replace the old library sharing that Steam had. The new features of this that are cool, unlike the old system, where if you're unaware, the way that library sharing currently works is you can share your library, but if you're sharing with, say, me, the moment that you come online, I lose access to your games.
Yeah.
Under this system, you will maintain access to the games, you will just not maintain access if it's the same game. Right? So if I own No Man's Sky and Elden Ring, and you're playing No Man's Sky and I'm playing Elden Ring, we're all good. We just both can't play the same thing at the same time. It sort of mirrors the idea of being able to share your physical media with your family, which is pretty cool.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's one scenario I want to present before we lead into the conversation on this.
The thing I was going to say.
Some fathers and boyfriends are about to have really awkward conversations.
See, that's why you get yourself a bad bitch who's down.
Okay, Captain, I meant to talk to you about this off air. I understand that banging on your desk is a good bit. However, from an audio perspective, it is not. Please refrain. So, But yeah, exactly. Because it will by default share every game in your Steam library, which is why I'm saying, friends, brothers, alt accounts. They're very important. If you're going to buy this sort of game and you care what the world thinks about you, I know some of you are out there just flying the porn game flag completely free, and, I guess good on you. But if you want to maintain a shred of your dignity, an alt account is the way that you do that. And now many, many boyfriends and husbands are sitting there thinking, God damn it, I wish I had made an alt account. I thought no one would ever know about this purchase. And it's, Daddy, when are you going to share your Steam library with me? I'm sorry, Timmy, it seems something's wrong with it. It's not working.
I want you to tell me, have you looked into, because you said it shares everything by default.
Yeah.
That did imply...
Yeah, so you can make it not share certain games between, basically it comes in two flavors, parent and child. So parents can set certain games to not be shared with children, but parent to parent, it's going to be there.
Yeah, and I do kind of wish... I mean, I get it. This is for families and stuff. That was always what was kind of billed as, but I would like a friend version, a more... less parent to child relationship, but
yeah,
is what it is.
So if you're out there playing 3001 A MILF Odyssey, or you're out there playing the Galactic Harem Handbook,
get out of my Steam library.
You're out there doing logging some hours into Not Safe for Work Solitaire. I just Googled Not Safe for Work, or looked it up on Steam, and I'm just reading games. That was the bit. Anyways, if you're playing those games, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the conversations you're about to have.
We gotta learn sometime.
What do you think the best excuse is?
The best excuse?
Let's give our brothers some hope, something to hang on to here. Come on. Let's help them out.
I've got games in my library that are... Oh, wait. Oh. Hold on. So we're talking about from...
This is you shared the porn games. And now...
Parents to kids you can limit. So I don't think
that's... Yeah. This is strictly a partner situation. Or friend situation, even if you shared with your friends. Because this thing is not geo-locked as of now. So you could share with friends. So what do you say when someone sees 3001 A MILF Odyssey in your Steam library?
Are you suggesting more?
Hey, you can finally play 3001 MILF Odyssey. Just send me your account information.
You're not wanting us to come up with ways you can gaslight your significant other, are you?
No, because I already have just a slurry of them. Because, okay, one, it was a gift. It was a joke gift. Yeah, Carl, he just keeps sending me. He's dropped like $300 on porn games as a joke.
Why does it say connect to your computer to speed up the install?
Look, it's I streamed it as a joke to my friends in Discord.
Okay,
but it says this for every one of these games.
Streaming things to friends as a joke on Discord.
I thought it would be rude not to install them after Carl gave them to me as a joke.
Altogether, they take up 3 terabytes of space.
Yeah, babe, that's why I had to buy the new external hard drive.
See, the problem is, maybe it's not a problem. I don't know. I have less of a need for plausible deniability. I'm living my life fairly out loud. But I do like I do have a deniability, which is, hey, I did it to play for fun, because I did one time, or just mess with my friends. So I did one time get a porn game with a character creator, an anime one, so I could bother a friend and start making an anime version of them in the game.
That sounds... I'm going to need you to qualify that as a consensual experience.
It was, to clarify, It was not consensual. That's
Okay,
not
that
good out
makes
of
it
context.
worse.
It wasn't, but I wasn't doing anything not safe for work. I was purely in the character creator making an anime version of them.
Okay, whew. Bullets
Yeah,
dodged, cancellation avoided. You live
yeah,
another
no,
week, Captain.
I didn't. No, if I was gonna do anything further than that, I wasn't gonna use their character. That's no. That's the. No, I just wanted to. I just want to make them in it as like an anime person. And you know what I learned? Anime or Japanese games, you'll be shocked. Not good at making black people.
Oof. Yep. I mean, that tracks.
Time to bring back the Elden Ring conversation about that.
I think we have almost made it through all of our news. We have one piece of news left. Captain, take it away.
Okay. Well, originally, I was going to bring this up. Well, it was Overwatch has introduced $25 Cowboy Bebop skins to the game. And, you know, it was going to be a discussion about like, man, that's expensive. And what would get you in on that? Unfortunately, there's a mark in this chat. So instead, this is actually going to be an interrogation. Why, Tiny?
Look,
Why will you buy those skins?
Activision Blizzard came for me specifically. I haven't bought the skins yet, but that's not me saying I'm not going to buy them. I don't even play Overwatch 2. I play it sometimes with a friend, but I don't like play. That's not one of the games that I play. You know what I mean? I haven't put hours and hours and hours into it. And I don't understand why they did this to me. Why didn't they put them in a game that I like? Because now I'm going to be forced to play a game I don't like and pay $25 additional to do that. Because that Spike skin looks really good for, I think that's on Soldier. It looks really good. They all look really good.
Just get on Destiny and buy the $15 Galahart armor. Okay, it actually does.
Yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think proper price point for a video game skin is?
It depends.
That is a hard question to answer.
What's the highest you'll go for a single skin?
I mean, I did buy the Galahart armor for my Warlock, so around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like $15 is it, right?
And honestly, I think $15 is often way too much. But
yeah, it's way too much.
Like, depending on how cool the thing looks, I'll break down. I will, but I don't think I can do 25.
If I may for a moment.
Sure.
The way that Warframe handles skins is kind of interesting here because they have the skins that they create, and those do go on sales. And if you ever get a login bonus, that is a sale, like a one-time coupon, basically, for stuff in the market, you can use them on that. Or you can use it on the purchase of the consumable that is for that. They have user-created skins in the game. There is a process. So not just anybody can make a skin, but there are user-created skins in the game. And for those skins, some of those come with so much stuff in them that I could see myself. This is kind of scary to say, but I could see myself spending $40 on a pack.
Oh yeah, on a pack, I could see that.
Because it would be like weapon skins. Skins for certain characters. You have like universal skins and specific skins, and sometimes there's just this really good universal skins that you can just use on anything that's that type of thing. And I don't mind that because also a lot of that money goes directly to the creator of that skin.
Yeah, that makes it a lot better, right? Like I like the idea that like someone who is not that's an amateur can get a cut of money for making community content. That's really cool. It's kind of like if the mod system for Skyrim or whatever wasn't like, completely ripping those people off.
I've spent my fair share of money. Fortnite's gotten their cut from me. Don't worry. But yeah, no, it's always an interesting question of I mean, that is their primary question of how far can they push it. And I hate to admit that 15. I've dropped around 15 before, but
Well,
ain't gonna lie.
you heard it here, Activision Blizzard. If you want my money, sell them to me for $15, and I'll do it.
Only if it's really, really, really cool, though.
Yeah. It's got to be Cowboy
I'm much
Bebop,
more
or I'm not
comfy
doing
at
it.
10, though. I'm much more comfy at 10.
Well, and I guess Overwatch is a free-to-play game, so that makes it a little bit better.
My advice when it comes to microtransactions, other than outright avoid them, because that's a strong case of like, do as I say, not as I do. However, otherwise, budget yourself. Take a look at how much you're making. Say, I can cut. This is how much I got that I'm going to put towards microtransactions, and that's it. And every now and then you're going to let yourself go over, but don't worry about that. But don't do it too often.
Yeah, my personal philosophy is look at the game, look at how much it has cost you to play it, and say, what do I think a fair amount for this game is? And then spend that on skins, right? Like, or battle passes or whatever. Because
I can tell you, I'm still putting in those Destiny hours, so it's not like I'm not using the thing.
I mean, like, for example, I'm a big Hunt Showdown fan. I'll probably be talking about that more here in the near future. There's a good event going right now. I've played over 700 hours of the game. Oh, I think at 800 at this point. I picked it up for $20 on sale, right? So if you work that out, that is, not a lot of money for a lot of playtime. And so I don't mind throwing money for a skin to Crytek because, like, I want to support the game and I want to support the developers. But I think it's really just about identifying, like, if I paid $70 for Call of Duty, I'm not buying a fucking skin for Call of Duty.
Yeah. That's fair.
But anyways, I think that about does it for our show today. Thank you so much for listening. To the audience on Twitch, thanks for tuning in real time. We appreciate you. And to our audience listening on YouTube, on Spotify, on any of the podcast apps, thank you to you as well. Every listen counts. We really appreciate it. And a special shout out to several people I have seen just sort of completely randomly find the podcast on YouTube or through my Blue Sky post. Big thanks to you guys because, growing an audience is incredibly difficult. We still don't have one, but you guys are awesome because you took a chance on a completely random podcast, something that requires a great amount of bravery, and I hope that you've liked what you found.
Braver than the troops.
Yes. And so with that, you can find us here every Tuesday, 5:15 p.m. Central Time. I almost said Eastern. That's a lie. Central Time. And then usually next day, I've got edits up on YouTube and on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. So any way that you want to find the show and enjoy the show, we encourage you to do so. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.